Sometimes people ask me why I wrote a parallel universe, or why I wrote my part of a parallel universe. My chapters in the book comprise a novel, and they alternate with Alex Landon's chapters, which are nonfiction essays. Anyway, one of the reasons I wrote it was because I knew a family with a single father who had been convicted, and I saw that this family was being affected by designer laws way out of proportion to the seriousness of the crime. And that was troubling. And I got in touch with a group called California Attorneys for Criminal Justice, and through them I got to know Alex Landon. And so then, after talking to him, I saw that there were a few people who understood the harm that was coming from what Alex calls designer laws, which at that time the main one that I was seeing was Megan's Law. So getting to know Alex was really an eye-opener and very inspiring. But most people didn't seem to think that there was anything at all wrong with laws like Megan's Law. And the idea of beginning the book kind of started in 2002, and at that time there was a huge panic in the southwestern part of the United States over the abductions of 3 girls. 2 of those abductions later resulted in new designer laws. And actually, at that time, there were some other disappearances of kids, but they were African American kids. And those disappearances, as it turned out, didn't have the right ingredients to attract a lot of attention. Those ingredients that produce a designer law are normally a photogenic white child and middle-class or upper-middle-class parents who are politically savvy and who are media savvy. And at the time I was working as a journalist. This was just after 9/11, so there was really a general atmosphere of fear, and it was really heightened by these 3 crimes that the media was focusing on. Every day I saw that the media was intensely focused or almost obsessed on these 3 crimes, and I saw they were making the panic worse. These abductions by strangers, in reality, they were rare crimes, but because of the constant headlines and the constant attention, people actually thought that there was a crime wave of abductions going on. Like one of the characters in my chapters in the book, I started talking to friends, and lo and behold, I ran across a lot of other people who were suffering from the very severe consequences of Megan's Law. It would be somebody's brother, somebody's grandson. None of these friends had mentioned anything to me before, because as I discovered, even convicted people's relatives are very afraid and very ashamed, so they don't usually open up about it. I got a little suspicious that because I was running across so many people that were being negatively affected by Megan's Law, and so I did a little investigation, and I found out that 1 out of every 135 California men are on Megan's list, which is a list that used to be just a database that was on a CD-ROM, or you called a 900 number to get access to this database. You had to go to a sheriff's station to look at the CD-ROM. So at that time, Megan's Law really wasn't so bad. But even then, convicted people and their families were suffering things like vigilante actions, problems getting jobs, and illegal housing discrimination. Well, soon Megan's List went on the internet, and like one lawyer said, after that people in New Zealand could find out and check up on convicted people in Alaska, and the people's crimes could have happened 40 years ago. They could have been major crimes or minor crimes. Another important bit of data that I found was that only 1 or 2% of the people that are listed on Megan's List are dangerous. And the others could be, for example, a teenager who got convicted of having sex with another teenager. It could be somebody who got convicted for urinating in public. Later, there was Jessica's Law, and that made the situation much worse. This was mostly in California, and a lot of people became homeless because it became, as a result of Jessica's Law, it became illegal for convicted people to live practically everywhere. So that was very depressing, but Alex's take on it was inspiring. He said that with education, people might start to reconsider their support for laws like Megan's Law, Jessica's Law, and other laws. So the intent of the book, the reason for the book, is also educational. I'm going to read 6 pages out of the novel portion of the book, my chapters. And my chapters are, of course, based on reality, and a lot of it, as you'll see, is pure invention. The pages that I'm going to read are obviously invented material, but the novel does have verisimilitude, which means that the important points are true to life. And that includes the sheer quantity of a lot of the bad stuff that happens to this one family in the book. So in these few pages, you can get a sense of how the atmosphere of panic was affecting these 2 Mexican-American teenagers. They're young teenagers. They're 3rd generation Mexican-Americans. And you can get a sense of the worse effects that were about to hit them just a little bit down the line. I wrote mostly about a Mexican-American family, and there are significant civil rights issues that are connected with designer laws. Traditionally, African-American leaders don't support designer laws because they realize how designer laws are used against marginalized people, and how the designer laws also cause people to become more marginalized.